Before the working experience, I actually left in the year 1980. That's when I left Nigeria to go to the US for my degree programs. So I was able to obtain a 4-year scholarship from the Plateau State government then, and I was able to use the 4-year scholarship to obtain both my BS degree in mechanical technology as well as my MS degree in industrial professional technology, which with concentration more on material science, which prepared me for the various jobs that I have taken down the line. My first work experience was when I graduated in the same 1980 from Government Technical College, Bukur. At the time, technical schools, before graduation, because we had 12 shops in the technical school, we had electrical engineering shop, fitter machinist, welding, fabrication, air conditioning, refrigeration, motor mechanics, agriculture, carpentry, building, and the rest of that. So what used to happen then, you will have so many companies that will come in and then select the best students, at the final year and see if they could actually employ them. So my first formal employment actually was with the Plateau Electricity Corporation in Jos. At the time, our boss, John Dus Lodam, from Jos was our boss, so our general manager. So I got my first job as a mechanical technician, so that was in 1980. Which means I really didn't have any break. The day I graduated from the secondary school, I was just engaged into work. So we work in the Gindiri, where we built the first powerhouse. At the time, Plateau State was mostly rural electrification. So Plateau Electrification Board was actually a revamp of rural electrification board. The first major project that we have handled was the Jos International Market, that was also being built, and they were building also a powerhouse there. But I worked there only roughly for about 4 months, before I got admission to both Plateau State Polytechnic as well as Indiana State University in Terre Haute, Indiana. So I left for the US, where I actually went to school to study for this 4-year program. Now, on returning in 1984, I did my youth service, with the same Plateau State Electricity Corporation. At the time, it was merged with the Water Corporation and became Plateau Utilities Board. So that's where I did my youth service. And while I was still, again, a youth corper, I had opportunities for employment from Peugeot Automobile of Nigeria in Kaduna, from Kudanel's Bauchi, as well as from Kaduna Polytechnic, and then finally from Jos Steel Rolling Company. But at the same time, I also got offer to be retained by Plateau Utilities Board. So I decided to go because I read material science, in my master's degree. So I decided to go with Jos Steel Rolling Company. It was just being built at the time, by a company called Mannesmann D-Mark of Germany. I worked from shift engineer 1 until 1989. I started in 1985 after my youth service. So I worked there until 1989, at the period I was promoted, to principal production and planning engineer. So I left to return to the US because there were a couple of companies while I was doing my final year student, while I was a final year student in the US, that also gave me some job opportunities. So as a result of that, I returned to the US, to go straight now into the oil and gas industry. So on returning to the US, I relocated to Texas, because Texas is the home base of petroleum in the world, as a matter of fact, because that is where the offshore technology conference is being held, annually. So I returned there, and then I work for a lot of companies actually I work for, because I was constantly changing jobs, trying to find the dream of my life. So I work for Houston Engineers, I work for Drill Equip, I work for OEM Components, and then I finally end up with my dream job, that is with Osaka Corporation. So Cycle Corporation is an independent oil and gas company. In Nigeria, you can compare it only with companies such as ADAX or maybe corn oil, consolidated. Not the corn oil petroleum products marketing, but corn oil, the main oil producer. And maybe companies like Express, and Oriental and the rest of that. I worked for them, and then they had opportunities, and then they had appetite actually for international business. So we used the opportunities to go around, and I was appointed the director for business development for Africa and the Middle East. So I had opportunities to go to a lot of other companies around the world, countries. We were in Russia, we were in Azerbaijan, we were in Nigeria, we were in Angola, Libya, Qatar. I spent a lot of time in Qatar, and then we are also in Saudi Arabia, even though Saudi Aramco didn't allow small companies to come in, but we still went there looking for opportunities. And then it was in the year 2000 that I finally just decided to come back to Nigeria. So on return to Nigeria, after return to democracy, we formed a company called Sadiq Petroleum Nigeria Limited, and I worked for Sadiq Petroleum Nigeria Limited as the first managing director of the company, the pioneer managing director. So we acquired 30% equity in African Petroleum. So I moved into AP as an executive director of operations. So I worked there only roughly for about 4 months or 5 months. By April 2001, of course, we took over as the managing director of African Petroleum. So that's where I had my greatest challenge in life. And every time I talk about AP, I remember all the challenges that we had, because we met a company, we were solely a dummy, really. We were solely a company that was cooking its balance sheet, that had negative balance sheet, that was highly indebted, not only indebted to one institution, but indebted to about 23 different banks. So every minute of the day you are waiting, and the MD of a bank is waiting for you as you are coming in. So it was a very challenging moment. Today I remember them, and I say very exciting moment, because I remember there was a managing director that came in from a very small bank. The total capitalization of the bank was 3 billion naira, but the bank gave AP a loan of 1 billion naira. So that's 1/3 of the bank was actually sitting as debt in AP, and the MD was a very big guy, huge guy, so bigger than me. Every time I had to be looking up to him if I was talking to him, and that's the same guy, that he needed his money badly, but the money wasn't there. So we had to manage the relationship to find a way to discuss that. I left AP in the year 2006, By the time I left AP locally for us, we were able to change the company around, so we had a positive balance sheet of 5 billion naira, through a very rigorous teamwork, by a team, not just by Engineer Sule, but really by a team of very competent legal people, highly competent finance people, operational people, sales and marketing, planning people, auditors, and the rest of that. So we put heads together and we were able to turn the company around. And forever I keep in touch with those guys, because we were able to do something that everybody thought was not going to be feasible. So from there I left. My intention was to return to the US to continue running a small company that was more exciting than AP. But then I accidentally went into politics in the year 2006, and then I came a week before primaries and contested under the Action Congress, and then became the candidate of the party. By 2007, after the election, I left and went on to go back straight to the US. So, however, Alhaji Dangote, the chairman, my chairman, and the president of the Dangote group invited me to return, not to go to the US and continue and work for him. So I came back and worked for him in Dangote Sugar Refinery PLC. And the rest is history. So I worked there until just a few days ago when I left, in order to come back into politics. So that's my little life story.